Okay, hello Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to look at weighted routing policies. So, weighted routing policies allows you to split your traffic based on different weights assigned. For example, you can send 10% of your traffic to go to US East 1 and 90% of your traffic to go to EU West 1. So basically, it works like this. Your user types in the domain name into their browser and they navigate to Route 53. Route 53 sends 20% of the traffic over to US East 1 and 80% of the traffic over to US West 1. That's all weighted routing is. It allows you to weight your traffic into different areas or different regions around the world. Okay, so here I am in the AWS console. We just need to go over to Route 53, which is always going to be under networking and content delivery. We go into our hosted zones, we click in here, and then what we want to do now is we want to delete this A record, so just click on delete record set, and we're going to go ahead and create a new record set. It's going to be our naked domain name or our zone apex record, so it's not going to have any www or anything like that. It's just going to be hellocloudgurus2019.com. And if we just click over here and do a refresh, you can see that DNS is still being served. It does, again, this is the TTL kicking in, so it is going to take some time before that record set has been deleted. Okay, so I've waited a couple of minutes. I'm just going to refresh, and you can see that now it can't be reached. Full disclosure, that took about 4 or 5 minutes before I get this error. So if you are refreshing and it's still serving things up, even though you've gone in and deleted your A record, that's why it is. It's basically just, the TTL. That's why that haiku is so very true. You think it's not DNS, and then you wait, and eventually it is DNS. So let's go ahead and create our record set. In here, I'm just going to paste in my different IP addresses. So I've pasted that in there. And then I'm going to change my routing policy from simple to weighted. Now, the way this works is you actually create multiple record sets. So you don't want to have multiple IP addresses in here. So I'm going to cut that out. I'm just going to have one IP address, and I'm going to give this a weight of 20. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And it's asking for a set ID, and the set ID is just the name. So this IP address is my Sydney one, so I'm just going to call it Sydney, and go ahead and hit create. And that has now created a record set. So let's go ahead and create another record set. We may just want to drop this TTL because down to a minute rather than 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes. And then I'm going to go ahead and create my second record set. I'm going to paste in my value in here, and I'm going to grab that one out. So this IP address is my Ohio address. I'm going to change this to weighted, and I'm going to give this a weight of 30. And in here, I'm going to call this Ohio. So go ahead and hit create. Now, if you scroll over, you'll be able to see the weight in here. And the way this works is it basically adds up these numbers. So right now, we've got 40% of our traffic going over to this address here, so over to Sydney, and then we've got 60% of our traffic going over to Ohio. We go ahead and create one more record set. I'm going to paste my value in here, drop this down to a minute. I'm going to change the weight, and then I'm going to give this a weight of 50. And then this one will get 50% of the traffic, and the rest will get their appropriate values. In here, I'm just going to type in Ireland. So I'm going to send 50% of my traffic over to Ireland. And there we go. We can now see 50% is going over here, 30% is going over to Ohio, and 20% is going over to Sydney. And if I go ahead and refresh, it took a little bit of time, but there we go. I'm now hitting the Ohio web server. So that Ohio web server had a chance of 30%. Now, when we were setting this up, if you actually click in here, you see right down the bottom it says associate with health checks. And you can go ahead and hit yes, and it says when responding to queries, Route 53 can omit resources that fail health checks. So basically, if your EC2 instances are failing a health check, it will remove it from the DNS. Now, we have no existing health checks right now, but we can click over here and go to health checks, and we can go ahead and create a health check. And so we could call this health check Sydney. And what to monitor? We're going to monitor an endpoint, and we're going to monitor it by an IP address. In here, I'm just going to enter the IP address for my Sydney one, which is 52.65.15.145. So with hostname, this is the name of the domain you want Route 53 to run the health check on. So it's hellocloudgurus2019.com. And in here, we're going to do it on port 80. And then the path, what I'm going to do is just index.html, because that's our index page. You can do advanced configuration in here. This is where you can do different request intervals. You can make it fast, so every 10 seconds, and then you can specify the failure threshold. So I might make this fast, and I might make the failure threshold 2. So that means within 20 seconds of this going down, it's going to know about it straight away. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And then you can also get notified when a health check fails, and you probably do want to do that in real life. I'm not going to go through and create an SNS notification though, so I'm just going to leave that as no. And I'm going to go ahead and create my health check. Now that we've got our health check, we can go into our hosted zones, and we can click in here, and we can go over and then start associating with our health check. And you have to do this for each record. So I'm going to do this for the Sydney record. And actually, I should probably do it for this one here because this is the Sydney record here. So I go ahead and associate with health check and go ahead and hit yes, and save my record set. So there we go. So I am going to go ahead and create 2 more health checks. You don't need to watch me do this. It's just exactly what we just did then. I'm just going to pause the video while I do this. And there we go. I've created my health checks. I'm just going to pause the video and wait for them to all be healthy. So if I go ahead and hit refresh, there we go. We've got our 3 healthy health checks. I'm going to go back over to my hosted zones, and I'm going to go through and just delete that A record so we can get on to the next lab. So I'm going to delete my 3 different records in here, and you can delete multiple items at once. So weighted routing is really, really simple. Again, we have our user, and they visit Route 53, and then Route 53 will essentially send the traffic to different regions around the world based on the weights that we supply. And essentially what it does is it adds up all the weights in the record set, and then it apportions it off appropriately. And then finally, we learned about health checks. So with health checks, you can set checks on individual record sets. So we did 3 health checks on our 3 different A records. And if a record set fails a health check, it will be removed from Route 53 until it passes the health check. And you can also set up SNS notifications to alert you if a health check is failed. So that's it for this lecture, guys. In the next lecture, we're going to learn about latency routing policies. So if you've got the time, please join me in the next lecture. Thank you.